Hello and good morning to the United States, and hello to everybody else, especially to the German audience or the time zone. Good evening. Today, we have the pleasure to have an honored guest back into our living rooms and on the screens, Volker Hildebrand. And after I last time goofed it completely by not giving the floor to our honored guest, I'm doing this upfront now a little bit earlier, and then we'll start chit-chatting. So, Volker, give us some information, and thanks that you followed our invitation, and we are looking forward to that nice conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Rolf, for having me. Hello, everyone on the live stream. Today is actually my 1-year anniversary with SugarCRM.
Applause, applause.
Congratulations. This is what I got 1 year ago when I joined. I got a cup.
Okay, what did you get today?
A coffee.
Lots of well wishes.
Well, let's put it like that. At least you got a coffee for the cup, because coffee is for closers.
Nice. I don't even get the steak knives.
Volker, before you had that very special 1-year birthday and anniversary with Sugar, you have done some good stuff in the industry already. Could you tell us a bit about your career before Sugar?
Sure. Yeah, I actually started more in the e-commerce space over 20 years ago with SAP, and then I joined SAP Markets in the US, which was a joint venture with Commerce One, and we were building electronic marketplaces, and we were way ahead. Too far ahead, so it didn't really fly back then. And we became part of SAP, and also part of it was my cat, and we also became part of the CRM group, and that's how I got into more into the CRM space. Back then, e-commerce was not considered to be part of CRM, which is kind of ridiculous. I think the only reason was because none of the CRM vendors had an e-commerce solution.
True.
That's just my explanation. And then, yeah, did a lot of work in CRM strategy, marketing, product management, general management. I worked with a whole bunch of startups as well, Recast AI, Ultimate AI. And then I left SAP. I joined the executive advisory board of Coveo. They were focused on AI-based search for e-commerce customer service. Hugely successful. And yeah, I've been with Sugar for 1 year, running global product marketing for them, and it's a lot of fun. And we're on a roll.
For sure you are. Sweet ass, so to say.
And since I have an academic background, I'm also still teaching at Duale Hochschule Baden-Württemberg remotely every Monday. Every Monday morning, my time, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. This semester, teaching sales and marketing management. So that's also fun.
Definitely, and
it's quite cool, actually.
Yeah, sales and marketing management at the same time.
Yeah, it's part of the marketing. And if you look at sales and marketing from an academic perspective, it's all kind of under marketing.
Fair.
Why that?
I have no idea. I think it's it just goes way back with like the
My guess would be there was always a marketing degree, but there was never a sales degree.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
everything just got built under that.
Yeah.
That's a guess on my part, but it
Well,
makes sense to me.
they do have in the FOM part, as I'm a lecturer on the Goethe University on the FOM, they have dedicated the e-commerce part, the CRM part, and the sales part. And for several moments, they have mixed it and got some e-health and that stuff, as well as educational courses. But I believe that in talking about Baden-Württemberg, those guys are coming from the practical side. And so just out of curiosity, is it one of these dual studies that your students part-time?
That's right. Yeah. So they're all working for companies half the time, and the other half they go to school.
It's a very solid thought form of doing the studies aside of the real thing, so that what you get out of the ivory tower can put into place and practice, and you check very carefully what is nonsense and what is working. And so it is cool to have somebody who has a sense not only of humor, but also for practical sales and for practical marketing, and is also a book author. Yeah. So you should not put the light too low that you have written at, as you said, you were early with that you have one of the first books on CX also published with two guys. Yeah.
That's right. It's right here.
Into the camera with it. There we
No.
Customer care experience edge. It's actually 10 years old now. So, but there's still a lot of the basic principles and concepts are
Definitely.
It's even available as an audiobook now.
who
Hint,
reads it? Somebody with your voice?
So if you, it's not me. I'm not the narrator.
What was the trigger which motivated you to go to sugar after being with the big ones and more enterprise level? If I'm not mistaken, the startups are more to from the bottom up movement, I would say, but sugar is quite a pig in another zone.
Well, my number one reason to join Sugar was to have fun, and so far I've had a lot of fun. I think what's really unique with Sugar is they have a whole bunch of senior people in the leadership who know what they're doing with a lot of experience. But at the same time, you have a lot of young people with energy, great ideas, and I think that's a great mix.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I really like is the focus on the mid markets. Many times those mid markets companies are not necessarily don't get as much visibility as everybody knows the big brands, and then some of the startups, especially the successful ones or the initially successful ones, there's a lot of noise around them too. But then the mid market, those are the solid companies that many times are market leader in their specific industry or niche. And there was a book written in Germany many years ago by I think it was Professor Simon about the hidden champions.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what these companies are. And a lot of them have phenomenal growth rates. Like I said, they're many times they're global market leaders. Or market leaders in a small segment, and that's really exciting, and it's exciting to support their growth. with software solutions, and help them grow even more and better, and develop better relationships with their customers, provide better customer experiences. So that's great.
Coming a bit to the main topic, and after I just learned from Ralph that FOM distinguishes between CRM and sales, which is odd to me at least. What would be your definition of CRM?
I think, well, it's obviously an acronym that says customer relationship management.
So
for
far,
me,
so good, yeah.
so for me, the definition really is CRM ultimately is about winning and keeping customers, and everything you do as an organization to win and keep your customers is CRM. So also many times people say CRM is a strategy, or is it a technology? I don't think CRM is a strategy. CRM is it's like every company needs to do CRM. It's like every company needs HR, or they need finance people, and they need to do the bookkeeping and all of these things. It's just something that every company needs to do, and then many times, obviously, it's used as an acronym for CRM technology, for CRM software solutions, so CRM technology is there to support and help organizations do their CRM, if you will.
So, looking at the famous value chain diagram, I think that's from McKinsey. This one big arrow that has the value processes and supporting processes of a company. You'd rather say it's a process then, yeah? That is probably even a
it's
a function, maybe.
It's not just a process. I mean, part of it is processes, but part of it also is the engagement and the interaction with customers, right? And so I would say it's a combination of these things, right? You may have like a sales process, or in customer service, a customer has a problem, and then you have a process to solve the customer problem. Especially if it's complex, you may even need to send out a field service technician, etc. You may need to make sure that the service technician has the right parts, etc. So a lot of it is process driven, but it's always about customer engagement. I think that's really or interaction, if you prefer that word. But that's what it's really about, right? How do you engage? How do you interact with your customers? It's all the customer facing activities, which, by the way, in my opinion, makes it very different from CX, because CX is not limited to the front office, in my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supply chain management, for example, has a huge impact on the customer experience. And I think that's a mistake that many people make, in my opinion, that they're kind of just saying CX is kind of the next step of CRM. In my opinion, CX is something entirely different.
Very good.
Shall we put in the question of ginger?
We probably should.
I was just about to.
Anytime Ginger Conlon has something to say.
Seconds, so. Yeah. So first of all, hello Ginger.
Yes.
And by the way, as I do see on my monitor that LinkedIn is again doing a loop. So if you experience the same, either do a refresh or go to our YouTube channel, CRM Convos, where you, by the way, shameless plug, can subscribe right away. So now back to Ginger's question.
I think Ginger got new headshots. That picture looks new to me.
Oh, hello, Ginger. Yeah. So, what's the one thing CRM users aren't doing that they should be doing to get the most from CRM? I think it might seem like a silly answer, but it's just use the system. I think that's still the biggest problem, especially in the sales area. Probably is users aren't using their CRM system, and it's not necessarily that the users are to blame or should get all the blame. Sometimes it's the CRM systems that aren't user friendly enough, or the focus is simply too much on let's have everyone enter a lot of data so that the sales leadership or the leadership team can do their pipeline analysis and see what's going on, and run all their reports. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Why do you think they aren't using it? I mean, if that's the number
Well,
one thing, they should use it.
Sometimes the problem is that the systems aren't really very usable because they weren't designed for the sales rep. They were designed to make sales leadership happy. And the other, so there's a difference between customer service and sales, obviously, because customer service, if you're sitting in the contact center, that's your tool, so you are using it. But in sales, may not be very usable. You have to enter a lot of data, which salespeople hate to do. And they're not getting much out of it. So a lot of them have the feeling that it creates more work from them than what they get out of it. And I think it should be the other way around. That's a big challenge of many CRM solutions out there.
I applaud that statement and embrace the statement as well.
Now, CRM as a technology is there since before this millennium. Why do you think this is still the case? What do the vendors do wrong then? Or the implementation partners, or the companies who ask the implementation partners to implement it that way?
Well, it's a really good question. I think the focus. Well, first of all, it's the sales leaders who make the buying decision, not the users. The users might be influencers in some cases, but in many cases, really, it's the sales leaders. It's a really good question, but as long as companies are buying a CRM and they believe they get something out of it, there wasn't really a need to change. CRM systems really haven't, especially in sales, haven't really changed that much. It's all about getting account information in it and enter a lot of data, and then manage your opportunities, manage the pipeline. Get the quote out, close the deal from a sales perspective, and that has not really changed. I think there's a lot of newer technology though that can actually help sales reps, right? And the other thing is a lot of the navigation has improved, but not all software vendors did that. Most of the CRM solutions, you still have like 10 different tabs open. So for example, our approach at SugarCRM is there should be only one tab, and you can do all the work where you are. You don't have to leave, go somewhere else, do this, come back, and then maybe lose track, or for every little thing you do, there's another tab that opens or another window that pops up. So it's simple things, but having said that, if you started to build your software like 10 years ago, it's hard to change that unless you want to rewrite everything.
Yeah, well, that is a challenge, and it's costly, and it's time consuming. So what is the way you have chosen, as we are placing the question, where does the sugar solution make the sales life easier? From your
Well,
perspective.
so for example, this approach that you should be able to do all the work that you need to do where you are. One of the things that we also have is, for example, that you can even work in Outlook or in Google Mail and Gmail, and have a sidebar. You get an email from a customer. And it identifies it's connected with CRM. It identifies this is a contact. It identifies the account, and immediately you see all the information on the right-hand side from your CRM system without leaving Outlook or Gmail, and you can even make updates. In addition, some of the solutions, especially if you have our Cell Premier solution, it will update the information that's in the system with external data as well, and lets you know more about your prospect or account, whether it's news, whether it's other information that's available. Or with another technology partnership with Trivialio, you get information about this particular account and whether or not they spend time on your website, and were, for example, interested in certain products that you're offering. So you have all that information, and you know about any activities that were going on, and you're still in Outlook. And you get all that information that you need. So if you want to report it, you don't have to leave. Right?
Is it probably wrong to say that Trivialio can be used at your earthquake warning, such as before the churn happens, before disaster is coming, your system uses everything which is in it, such as also Trivialio as a partner product, to warn you and to inform you that there is probably shit hitting the fan?
Well, for example, you would be able to see that nothing's happening, and there's an account is in your opportunity. We have just Jahr, our SVP and General Manager of the Americas, was just talking at the Analyst Summit last week, and I think he gave a great example. And he said sometimes you're only on the short list as a software vendor. So he was talking about his own experience. Is that you're only there to be funnel fodder, and they need a fourth or a fifth company on their short list. That's the process, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a real selection. And he said sometimes you're only on the short list because they need another vendor. So he was telling a story that he was actually then on the phone with one of these prospects, and he told the prospect, "Why are you wasting my time? Why are you asking us to do a demo? You haven't even been on our website looking for information about us in the last few months." And then the customer was, "How do you know?" And he said, "Well, I'm using CRM. That's how I know." And he said, and then JR said, and immediately we were bumped up from level fifth place into P1 or P2.
I love it.
So
I love it. That is
anecdotal, but it also shows that if you have valuable and relevant data in your CRM, people will use it, right? And if you don't, if it's primarily a tool to enter data, people will hate using it.
You mentioned the analyst. Sorry, Marshall, go for it.
I also want to talk about the Analyst Summit.
Danke.
But before we do that, there's I just want to continue with your educational efforts with your sales and marketing management classes. How are you addressing CRM adoption with them? I mean, they're management students, but how are you teaching them about getting their employees to use CRM better or at all?
Well, most of the class is not about the software tools. It's really about sales planning. It's about sales controlling and sales forecasting, sales processes.
I
Teaching
mean, all the things you can do in CRM.
teaching. Yeah. Let me just finish. So we're going through all the basics, and then the last two sessions of the class, they're about software solutions and technology to support sales and marketing. And there it's mostly providing an overview, because there's so many different tools and software solutions, not just kind of, the sales automation, marketing automation. But I also want them to have an understanding of the breadth. For example, there are CPQ solutions specifically for configure, price, quote. So I'm introducing different categories that are there. That's one, and then the other, I'm basically showing them with an example how CRM software can support a sales process and what it can actually do in a positive way, and the value it can bring. I'm lucky because I can just show SugarCRM, and so they immediately see how it can all work out. Yeah. The other thing, and that's actually nice, and that's what I'm trying to do in this. The focus is a little bit more on sales, actually, and sales and pipeline management and sales processes, sales planning, sales forecasting. But I'm introducing the lead to cash process, or lead to close, if you will, and start with lead generation and talk about qualifying leads. A lot is also about KPIs, what are important sales and marketing KPIs. And because I'm talking about both marketing and sales, I'm also talking a lot about how sales and marketing need to be aligned, and that you need to have processes that go across marketing and sales, and that you need to be aligned on the KPIs in particular. Because if you have different KPIs and you're running in different directions, you will never be aligned. And I think that's also a big problem, both from an organizational perspective, but also from a technology perspective. Because if a lot of companies are using different marketing tools, different solutions or software for sales. And then it's even harder how to align that, right? We introduced earlier this year. We shared the results of our global CRM impact reports, and one of the findings was that 63% of the participants, which were sales and marketing leaders. Basically, 63% of the respondents said that the misalignment between sales and marketing is negatively impacting their growth and revenue goals. And that's big and shocking at the same time, right?
You're right.
Okay. And now,
Back to the analyst summit.
yes,
Roll.
go ahead, Ralph. I interrupted you. It is now.
No. I thought you wanted to go for the last week's analyst summit and some of the takeaways, and that you wanted to.
I did, but You were going to ask it right then. We're
Extended
having
drum
a
roll.
war of politeness right now. We're trying to figure out. We're playing after you, my dear Alphonse. Both Ralph and I, and presumably Thomas, would like to know if there's anything in particular from last week's U.S. Analyst Summit for SugarCRM that particularly resonated with you. The important messages to the audience. Just what did it mean to you, and what should it have meant to us?
Well, I think on the one hand side, obviously it's an analyst event, so it's about updating analysts on how the business is growing, and we had a phenomenal year. So we shared some of that, in particular our cloud solutions, the phenomenal retention rate we're having. So it was a lot about the business momentum. Then obviously updates on the product side. We talked about also about our vision for digital engagement with the just newly released self-service capabilities, which is just a starting point, but we want to support the entire customer journey and as well as buying cycle going forward. So product updates, updates on roadmap. I think one of the key elements of our analyst summit was our customers. So we had a whole bunch of customers, 7 or 8 customers, not only present and share their story and their growth stories with the analysts, but they were also there to engage with the analysts and interact one-on-one. And so analysts had an unfiltered view on how our customers are successfully using the solution to drive their growth and support their strategies, and also the close relationship that they have with SugarCRM. I think that's also something that is really a differentiator besides the product itself. At SugarCRM is the relationships, the close relationships we have with our customers.
And
Well
one
said.
part of this was also when Chris did his panel with his customers, he actually dared into going to ask about the partially bumpy road that was already there and how challenges that came during the implementation were overcome. And that's probably part of the more impressive part of the story, for me at least, because at the end of the day, whichever customer is, there is a reference customer. And of course they are happy. And like every customer, they of course also had difficulties on the road, and it's always good to know how this got overcome and how the trust got established and deepened, actually. This was something that I found particularly impressive. I mean, not everybody dares that, or to ask that in front of analysts publicly. That's something that you might really want to continue on and build up on as a recommendation.
All right, no, that's nice feedback. Yeah, but we've all been in this industry for a very long time, and we all know that implementing software, there's always hiccups.
Yeah, right, and they are not talked about. Yeah.
So why hide something that everybody knows is there? And I think talking about how we help our customers get to where they want to be, even if it's not an easy or smooth path. I think that is in fact an advantage, because like I said, happens all the time. So the key is to make customers successful, and that's not always the easiest path. But the goal is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Buzzword, making customers successful, or keyword, not buzzword. Oh, well, customer success is a part of a vendor organization, meanwhile, so one could also say buzzword. What is customer success? When is the customer successful? How to measure it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to look at kind of adoption, and obviously that's part of it. Are they actually using your software? But I would go a step further. To me, a customer is successful if they achieve their business goals. Software is only a means to achieve something else. So a lot of our customers have pretty aggressive revenue growth objectives.
Oops.
And so if we can support our customers in achieving their goals with regards to revenue growth, whether it's 30% or whatever it is, I think that we're successful. And that's just one metric, right? There's others where you can be more specific in sales automation. Are they actually able to increase their win rate? Are they able to shorten the sales cycle? These are business objectives, or in marketing, the demand, the lead generation, and then the conversion rate. Or are they actually feeding? Are they building enough pipeline for the salespeople to work on these opportunities? And on the customer service side, how quickly can you respond to an incoming service request? How fast can you actually solve a customer problem? How easy do you make it for our customers to engage and get a problem solved? And then the customer satisfaction that comes out of that, or renewal rates. We have a lot of customers who actually have subscription models, and we do support that with our SugarCRM. So if they may have a goal of renewal rates, or increase their renewal rates, and that's really what matters. Of course, it's great that all of our customers are saying they're a happy SugarCRM customer, but it goes beyond being happy and being happy about the relationship with Sugar and happy about the software. What really matters are the business outcomes. But I think you heard that at the summit as well from these customers. Just one example, Gail Richardson from Juniper Education, they did more than 20 acquisitions of other software companies in the last 2 or 3 years. That's tremendous growth, right? They used to have like one product. Now they have more than 20 that they're selling, and being able to support that growth and that expansion strategy with the adaptability and flexibility of SugarCRM, that's pretty impressive. And they wouldn't be using SugarCRM only because they like us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Sugar serves, it seems, a lot of mid-market organizations compared to SMBs or large enterprises. What sort of uncertainties are facing that specific market segment, and how are you helping them address that?
Yeah, so I think in general, there's not just for mid-market companies, but the whole economic environment, obviously, there is a lot of uncertainty with regards to the future. Where's the economy going? Is the pandemic really over, or is the next one just around the corner? War in Ukraine. So all these things going on basically mean, and we just heard about a lot of people that were let go in the tech industry as well.
A few different organizations, yeah.
Facebook announced that they let go 10,000 people, roughly. That's huge, and it shows that uncertainty is definitely across the boards. But I think for mid-market companies, it might even have a bigger impact, because they're many times they're up against the big gorillas in some cases. And may not always have the same financial means, but what it's in order to deal with that. And by the way, in addition to the uncertainty, there's another thing that we've seen increase over the last couple of years, which is customer churn rates, which are again, citing our global CRM impact report, among 1,600 sales and marketing leaders, where 32% of those we asked basically said, I have to rephrase that. On average, the customer churn of all of these companies, 32%, which basically means 1/3 of the customers are no longer buying after a year. And 58% of those surveys said it increased in the last 12 months. So higher economic uncertainty, and then at the same time, increased customer churn, which is not necessarily good news from a vendor perspective. So how do you deal with that, and how do you prepare yourself for that? So I think there's a couple of things. One is you need to be more flexible and more agile, because sometimes even if the economy is going south, at least you know which direction it's going, and you can prepare for it. I think the problem with uncertainty is you don't know, and you might do the wrong thing. So flexibility is king, in my opinion, especially in uncertain times, but also agility. Because if you see, things are actually not going this way, they might go this way. You need to be able to change, and you need to be able to change quickly. The other thing about agility is that in these times, and with higher customer churn, there's I call it, there's a need for speed as well. And if we look at, for example, customer churn, why a lot of customers leave? Well, negative experiences, obviously, but in order to, coming back to my definition of CRM, winning and keeping customers, you need to be fast. You need to be faster than the competition. You need to be able to qualify leads faster, hand them over faster to the sales organization. You need to shorten the sales cycle. You need to be faster in getting the quote out, negotiating it, getting it signed, and then get the products, if it's physical products, out of the door and deliver. We talked about customer service. That's you need to be able to respond quickly to your customer's request, solve their customer problem fast. And if you do all of this faster than your competition, you have a huge competitive advantage. And this is even more important in times of uncertainty and high customer churns, because at the same time, what we're seeing is customer expectations with regards to responsiveness or speed has actually increased. Because during the pandemic, everybody was used to, oh, I just buy here, click online, and get it shipped the next day. Now the expectation is everything should be that easy and that fast. Whether that's a correct assumption or not doesn't really matter. It's these experiences shape our expectations. It also accelerated something that had already started a few years back, which is the consumerization of B2B. Our experiences as consumers are increasingly shaping our expectations as business people. If this is so easy in my private life, why is it so complicated? If I can have an adapter for my MacBook tomorrow, as a consumer, why is my procurement process in business, why does it take 2 weeks until I get the same product? And so people don't want to put up with that anymore.
But that isn't a systemic, well, it is a systemic problem, right? It might be because when I buy something, both Ralph and Marshall would like to approve that I get a new charger for my MacBook.
Well, yeah, but even that you can digitize some of these processes and make it faster, right? We were talking about CPQ earlier. You can use these tools and sales to get a quote out to the customer in the same day. What used to maybe take several days now takes a couple of hours. And then you can negotiate. You can do DocuSign and the contract signed, and everything's great. So I think this is where organizations really need to look, keep the eye on the ball, which is the customer, right? Keep your customers, win new customers. It's really simple, and we were talking earlier with how CRM has changed. Well, winning and keeping customers has never changed; was always there. But there's a lot more technologies, and I think one of the real benefits is of all the digital engagement is now there is a lot more data. Now there is a lot more data that you can actually leverage and use in order to better engage with your customers, to know more about your customers, and where the CRM system is actually of value because it tells me something I didn't know before.
Yeah,
and I think that makes a CRM system valuable. If it tells me something I didn't know before, if it helps me do things faster by automating stuff, by making me do less clicks, by not asking me to enter a lot of data, but grab it somewhere. And like I said, because of the digital engagement, you have a lot of that data that you can capture automatically. So I think the future of CRM systems in that context of the need for speed, flexibility, adaptability, is really in more automation and acceleration of business processes, of customer and customer interaction. And so if organizations look at their CRM system and use it in such a way to gain a competitive advantage, that's when CRM really brings a lot of value to the table.
Out of curiosity, I mean, We are all curious. If you are saying more automation, that basically says ingraining processes. In how far does more automation reduce flexibility? Or does it actually increase flexibility?
I think it increases flexibility because it increases speed. And if you're faster, you can act and react faster. You can be proactive about things versus waiting and then deciding. And automation is not just automating a process. Automation has a number of aspects. Like I said earlier, like automation of data entry. So instead of having manual data entry, try and capture that data from places where it's already there. And digital engagement helps because there is a lot more of that data available. Go outside, where we were talking about Trivialio earlier, leverage that kind of data. In some areas, AI, use AI to identify the most promising leads, to identify the opportunities that are most likely to close this quarter so that sales reps don't waste their time on opportunities that they're not going to win anyways, or won't close this quarter at all. So I think it has a lot of elements. And also business processes, right? Whether it's processes in sales or in customer service, being able to automate the processes and the steps needed to solve a customer problem. If you can automate that, it's much faster, and you can respond faster, solve the customer problem faster. So I think it does bring a lot more flexibility. I think the key is that if you automate in a smart way. Just making an ineffective process faster doesn't help. Right? If you climb up the wrong ladder, it doesn't matter how fast you climb.
You have a nice picture aside of my iceberg picture, because one of the critical things I try to make people clear, efficiency versus effectiveness, is the Titanic tried to win the blue ribbon by steaming like hell into an iceberg. Unfortunately, too bad.
Yeah.
So, not very clever. So clever is to use the helping hints. For instance, a system is giving you. How can a system be your guide through uncertainty in a certain dedicated manner? Is it only next best action, or is there more?
Well, I do think there is more, because there's a lot of decision support that a system can provide by providing insight. For example, what the little anecdote from Jahr, how he was talking to customers and said, I know you've never been on our website. Why are you wasting my time? That's insight that he had. It didn't necessarily tell him what to do next or what the next best action is, but it provided him with insight that he was able to turn into action. And I think this is key. Insight is only really helpful if you can do something with it. In some cases, the tool or the software or something like AI models can actually help identify that action or make a recommendation or a suggestion, which is great. whether it's a personalized offer or, like you said, next best action, or what I had early, identify the most promising leads, so forget the other ones, or help me focus on opportunities that are more likely to close. These are all helpful things, but it doesn't necessarily always need to make a recommendation what I should be doing. Sometimes it's just, or if you do pipeline analysis, right, and we spend a lot of time this year to improve our forecasting and predictive forecasting capabilities.
Okay.
And it's really important for sales leaders, for example, if they have their weekly pipeline calls, right, with their other with the sales teams or their sales leaders, and they're looking at the pipeline, and what they want to understand is, okay, what has changed since last week? And so, for example, now we have a nice visualization that shows you exactly this was where the pipeline was a week ago, and then there's an opportunity that slipped. There were two opportunities where the value went down, right? We added another opportunity. We were able to pull in two opportunities that we originally thought would close next quarter, but now we believe we can actually pull them into this quarter. So it goes up again. And then, and that's a lot of valuable information in order to then decide and take action and basically say, okay, yeah, we're going to make our numbers if we do pull in these two opportunities into this quarter. And it doesn't necessarily tell you do this, right? But by providing that insight, and in this case, even visualize it, and then allows you to drill down and look, for example, at one of these opportunities, and basically say, yeah, there's a good chance. And then you can ask the responsible account executive or sales rep. So what do you think? Can we bring this into this quarter? And they said, yeah, I think I can commit to this. That can be very, very valuable.
Right.
That is quite true. Looking at the time, and that you have a quite busy schedule, I'd like to go into our famous last words. So you earlier said something like front office and back office, that there's a distinction. Sorry. My question would be, isn't that largely an artificial distinction?
Yeah, I think the lines are blurring between what's front office, what's back office. I mean, for me, front office is mostly people who are engaging with or interacting with customers, either directly or indirectly, right? Marketing people, sales people, service people, e-commerce, your website, etc., your digital channels, all of that, everything that's around customer engagement is kind of front office, if you will. But I think that's also the big difference between CRM and CX, because if you look at how do I improve customer experience, only looking at the customer engagement part, not enough. Right? You also need to look into supply chain, for example, and we've seen that a lot of customers. I had a friend of mine who it was last year when some of the supply chain issues were really bad, and a lot of the container ships were out there sitting the LA harbor and waiting to be unloaded. And he ordered some golf clubs and was waiting for them for like 6 months. They were supposed to come within the week. But they were just sitting out there in a container, and nobody could tell him when he will get them, right? So talking about experience shape expectations now with usually when you order something online, you have your tracking ID, you just click on it and it tells you left and will be tomorrow, and you may even get an update on your phone. Oh, your package is like 5 stops away.
Yeah.
And then there it was like, we have no idea. We know it shipped. We know it hasn't arrived yet, but you'll find out. Talking about uncertainty, I still don't know whether he actually got them.
Either him or some Somali pirates are very.
But it's yeah. So that's why I'm saying customer experience, and then for customer experience, there's even the person in the warehouse that might be responsible for customer experience. I was ordering a vinyl record, right? And they put it in one of these sleeve bags for shipment. Well, of course, it arrived here bent, and it wasn't broken, but put it in a proper box. So and I reordered it. So I sent it back. Amazon made it easy. I got another one. Same thing again.
What?
Yeah. So no clear instructions how to properly put vinyl records into a package so it actually arrives safely and not broken. So this person in the warehouse has a direct impact on my customer experience, despite the fact that it's not a front office worker, right? He has or she has nothing to do with CRM either. And that's why I'm saying CX is a much bigger topic. And I always smile if there's some vendor that does some personalization of website content. Say, we get a CX platform.
Nice try.
I know we're at the top of the hour, but that was despite the fact that I wrote a big book about customer experience, it's not just CRM.
There's always more to be said about customer experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad we had you here to help us go through that.
Yes.
And we enjoyed very much your approach of the need for speed and the other items, because when you started and throwing in that need for speed approach, I felt very much remembered one of my favorite car racing games on my PC, which indeed was Need for Speed at that time when I was young. And I enjoyed very much thinking about flexibility, effectiveness, efficiency, and keeping the eye on the ball, which is just up front of a soccer world championship. I prefer, instead of watching this ridiculous soccer world championship, to go for eye on the ball and have my customers in focus and keep them in my heart and in my brain. Yeah.
All right. That's always good. Yeah. Like I said, it's all about winning and keeping customers.
Having
Fantastic.
said that,
Or watching.
Famous last words.
we actually
thank you,
kept
gentlemen, for having me.
kept an audience. Thanks to everybody, and
Always a
see you
pleasure
next
speaking
week.
to you.
All right.
Going
Thanks,
backstage now.
everyone.
Bye.
Cheers, all.
Oh,